Thank you so much, Nazreen, and thank you for hosting us today. It's wonderful to be back, and it's wonderful to have so many people joining us in the room and lots more online. So thank you for all coming. As Nazreen said, it has been something of an uphill struggle a little bit this year in terms of DE&I, and we at the Diversity Project never shy away from a challenge, and so you will be hearing about our re-examination of the business case. Is there a business case? We certainly believe there's a moral case, and I'm hopeful that there's a business case, but we're going to re-examine it. My view is that when there is a challenge, then you need to rise to it and not just sweep it under the carpet. So we have been working this year on all sorts of things that don't take for granted the fact that we haven't achieved diversity, equity, inclusion, that it will carry on all the work, because we know there's a lot of threats there. So thank you for showing us that you are still very much involved, and I hope that this afternoon will give you lots and lots of great things to take back to your organizations and carry on the great work that is definitely a collective effort. Last year, I started by asking this question: how high a priority is DE&I at your company right now? And I want to ask the same question again. But before that, I forgot to mention there is a fire alarm at 4:45 p.m. Suddenly thought I had one job and I forgot to do it. At 4:45, the alarm will go off, and it's not a fire. So while you get the QR code downloaded for the Slido question, just to remember that. And also, if you're seated in the auditorium, there are microphones in your seat. I feel I need someone, maybe Nazreen can demonstrate. There, in front, and there's in between the chairs or at the end, and they pull out, and then you hold it so a green light comes on. Okay, so there are 4 options here. How high a priority is DE&I at your company? High and increasing, high but under pressure, medium, or low? And we only like honest answers here. They're all anonymous, so you can be completely candid about how you feel about this issue, not what's necessarily stated in marketing literature, but what you actually feel. All right, we've got 95 people. We've got quite a lot of people online, so I'm just going to give it a moment or two. I'm not actually sure how many people we totally should be looking for in the votes, but we'll keep going for a moment because the numbers are still going. How's it going? High but under pressure. High and increasing is not, and low. Okay, so that's... I'm going to wait until we get to one. I don't think it's changing that much. Okay, so let's call it a hold there. 40% high but under pressure, 27% medium, and then obviously only a low 10% saying that it's actually low. Now, we got the results from last year to show you. So very similar in terms of high but under pressure. So 40%, 42% this year, 39% last year, and again, medium was second. A few more of you saying it's a low priority. So we know what we're kind of up against, and it's not to do with our personal views, obviously. We know that with the culture wars, with the backlash that we embraced, as it were, starting at the year, acknowledged and sort of faced into, that we have got a challenge. So, as I say, time to refresh, revise, and restate the business case. I always, at this time of the year, go through our achievements of the year. I hope that doesn't seem self-serving, but we'll have a quick look. Next page coming up. There's a lot, don't worry. I'm only going to pick out a few highlights. And I actually want to start with picking out International Men's Day. We hosted our first ever in-person International Men's Day event at Aviva Investors just last week. And this was a first. First, because it was our first in-person event. It was hybrid, there were people online as well. But in the room, 85% men. And almost, I mean, it's neither here nor there. There were lots of ethnic, different representations, but a lot of white, middle-class men. And it was such a refreshing thing at a diversity event. And I must admit, when we initially planned this event, I was really worried that we'd have an International Men's Day event with only women in the room. So I'm happy to say that that one wasn't the case. And I suppose the point of me sharing that is the Diversity Project has always been very careful and insistent that our form of diversity and inclusion is inclusive of all. We are not trying to replace one form of discrimination and exclusion with another. And so for us, it's incredibly important that white men are very much represented and involved and feel very welcomed, because you are. I would also draw attention to this year, we ran a 1 year only, but very successful Parenting Horizons series. And we covered all sorts of things. Obviously, there's maternity and paternity, but also challenges around fertility and baby loss, surrogacy, and mental health issues involved with your own children and how difficult that can be for people who are working in our industry and everybody. Just two other things I want to draw attention to. Next generation talent, please watch this space. We have currently got a number of programs that are around, some of them mentioned here, the Skills Workshop, for example, that are around attracting young people who might not otherwise be interested or aware of the investment industry. But next year we are broadening that. We're having a big piece of work on apprenticeship schemes, and we're pulling together different parts of the Diversity Project's efforts into one-stop shop, but for our member firms to pick and choose where they want to get involved. Ultimately, with the desire not just attracting this talent, but really creating a future generation of leaders from underrepresented backgrounds. And last but not least, and it's a tiny one there, you can't probably see it, but there is a little guide that might be topical or seasonal on work-related social events. That sometimes people say, oh, we get always some problems around Christmas parties. Happens to be Christmas party season, hopefully no problems, but there is a guide, helpful guide online if you wish to look at it. This is a bit about us, but I just wanted to highlight our reach at this stage. So you can see it in the numbers. We've had 27,000 people through our different programs. We have had 4,000 people come to our events. We've given evidence in Parliament. We have over 15,000 people in our social media community, and we've been producing a lot of campaigns and speaker series. I hope that you find that what we do is valuable, but we're always open to feedback, and we always love it when people say, I'd really like to see you work on this, and then gives us another idea. One thing I just want to draw attention to, there are a lot of finance awards, but there's only one finance award that's worth nominating people for, and that is our new shared awards with Portfolio Advisor, and these will be announced in March next year. And these are really an opportunity to reward people, acknowledge people who go above and beyond and do something really special. Sometimes people just don't get celebrated, and also firms who are doing something quite innovative and who are making real strides. So please, there's another QR code. You're going to be deluged with QR codes. Sorry about that. But it makes it easy. And I have been assured that the little gremlin in the middle is not some sort of virus, but it's just a nice little gremlin there. I wanted to, just before I close, just spend a couple of minutes just on some changes that we're making at the Diversity Project. There are opportunities resulting from these, but also just to make it clear on communications. So what we have realized is that it's such a big organization, 400 people working, mostly in a voluntary capacity. We've had 15 work streams, had a number of task forces start over the last year and a half, that it can be quite confusing for people involved to navigate their way around. Do they get involved with everything? Do they get involved with a few things? How do you get involved? So we have had a good think about how we might make everything clearer, and starting with what our firms are telling us they need help with. And you're going to hear later today from Matt Cameron about the results from our Goals and Progress tool this year. And that is a starting point for what we're hearing from member firms about the areas that you want us to focus on. So what we're planning on doing is having this annual cadence that starts with sending out the Goals and Progress survey. We obviously then have the results and share them. We're going to change the name of our work streams to being in the large communities. Some of them will become resource groups, but the whole point is moving away from this idea of lots of work and more to being more communities. You might not see any change, but what we feel at the moment is happening is, particularly if people are pressured at work, they find it hard to keep up with the work stream, and we want to make sure that they realize that actually you don't have to come up with projects and events and webinars all the time. We'll do that from the center. We'll listen and help communities, but there's no pressure. We'll then have this event where we're obviously going to share the results, talk about some of the highlights from the year, and update on what we're now calling task forces. And for example, you're going to hear shortly about our task force on cognitive diversity and the linkage with investment team performance. We have a wonderful advisory council, and it meets roughly quarterly and provides such great input in terms of what leaders in our industry need and are thinking. So it'll be no surprise that the big theme from our most recent meeting, which actually was a little earlier than December, was very much around the tide going out on DE&I, how to keep the focus on it, and how to keep people engaged and make it a priority still. Strategy Day is in June, and we always agree our themes, and new task forces may emerge there. They can be at any time of the year, of course. We had one on no space for racism that developed after the riots of this summer. Then we'll have individual meetings with community leads. If there's any gaps, do they want to work on it, do they need help, etc. And publish to everybody's benefit, I hope, a clear annual roadmap of what we'll be working on. We know the community leads, or work stream leads as they were, like to get together in person and share what's going on, so we'll keep going with that. And then we have a budget process where obviously the priorities are matched up against the funding. So I hope that's clearer. We are making a number of new hires and changes to our team as well, partly because we've been growing organisation. We've also had one resignation, and I don't know if Natalie Sard is here from Talk About Black. Natalie, are you here in the room? Well, that's a shame because I have some flowers for her. But anyways, we will have to try to get them. Hopefully she'll come later and we'll be able to acknowledge her. But Natalie will be leaving Talk About Black for personal reasons. And she spends a lot of time, particularly on our skills workshop program that has reached 26,000 students over 4 years. And we will be embedding that work in the next generation talent work. So in the reception area outside where you are having a glass of wine or something soft later on, there is a poster which has 3 QR codes, again, for jobs that you might wish to apply for. And if you click on them, you'll be able to see. But we have 3 roles going up. One, a new Chief Operating Officer to help us run it smoothly. One, a new Business Development and Relationship Manager, and one, the Next Generation Talent role. So that was a bit of an ad for that. But hopefully, as the year goes on, you'll see really clearly all the communications from the Diversity Project all tying in with this annual cadence. Okay, so now on with the show, and we're going to start with our focus on cognitive diversity. I came across this cartoon, which to me summed up how a lot of people seem to behave. We need to focus on diversity. I want you to hire more people who look different, but think just like me. When I started getting involved in diversity efforts, which was through launching the 30% Club back in 2010, it was definitely the opposite. I was looking for people who thought differently, and the idea was that I believed that cognitive diversity would improve decision-making and improve performance. But there has been some doubt cast over that, and some of the studies that seem to prove that have had some aspersions cast on them, which is why we are now thinking afresh, and I hope we'll be really coming up with something that either sets out a new business case or says, actually, no, it doesn't seem to make the difference that we thought it did. We will talk about more that later.